What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, February 2nd, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 12:24 Eastern Time here in the United States, and I wanted to update you guys on the situation with Iran. But before I get into that, we have some other major breaking news. So this Thursday, the last major U.S.-Russia nuclear arms control treaty officially expires, the START II treaty, and this treaty capped the number of deployed nuclear warheads at 1,550 for both the U.S. and Russia. It also limited the number of delivery systems to 700. So the START II treaty will officially expire this Thursday, and there has been no talks between Putin and Trump on extending the START II treaty. So what does this mean? Well, Trump already said that he wants to double the defense budget for next year to $1.5 trillion. So I would assume that that's going to include up-arming a lot of our nuclear weapons delivery systems, such as our Ohio-class subs, which had 4 missiles removed from each of them. They each have a capacity of 24 Trident missiles, and they now only have 20. And the number of warheads on each one of our Minuteman missiles has been reduced from 3 per Minuteman missile to just 1. So I assume Trump is going to up-arm our Ohio-class subs and Minuteman missiles, but we'll have to wait and see. This is major breaking news. Looks like another arms race is about to begin. We also have some very concerning news coming out of Google. So the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, told 60 Minutes yesterday that there were instances of Google AI going rogue. He said his engineers don't understand why their own AI system started doing things it wasn't programmed to do, like learning a foreign language when it was not asked to do so. So this is real-life Skynet unfolding in front of our eyes. And remember, predictive programming is a real thing, okay? All those Terminator movies from the 1980s, 1990s, they predicted this 40 years ago, okay? We also had an extremely powerful solar flare yesterday evening at 6:57 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. There was an X 8.1 class solar flare, and apparently it's only going to give us a glancing blow. So we'll have to monitor the situation, but they're saying that any effects from this massive solar flare will be observed or felt later this week around February the 5th. So we have to be on the lookout for low latitude auroras. There's already an R3 class radio interference or radio blackout, so it's already causing interference with high frequency radio systems. But this is just another thing that we have to be vigilant about and be prepared for, and that's massive solar flares that can take out our power grid, take out all our communications, take out our satellites. Everything could go completely dark from one of these solar flares, okay? And we're hearing that the U.S. President Donald Trump sent another aircraft carrier to the Middle East. Apparently, the USS Nimitz is now going to the Middle East. So, second aircraft carrier and associated destroyers going to the Middle East. That is absolutely insane. And the Israeli Air Force is training for strike operations in Iran. This was reported by Israel's Khan News. And Iranian TV, quoting the aide of the Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, said, "We will strike Tel Aviv in any upcoming war with hypersonic missiles." Wow. So the aide of the supreme leader of Iran saying they will strike Tel Aviv with hypersonic missiles if there's a war. And the Iranian foreign minister said, our missiles were tested in a real war last time, and we were able to understand their weak points and their strengths. We learned many lessons during the 12-day war. I think we are now very well prepared, but being prepared doesn't mean that we want war. He also said if a war starts, it will be a disaster for everyone. He also said this time, if it is between Iran and the U.S., since the U.S. bases are spread all over the region, then inevitably many parts of the region will be involved. So very, very strong words there from the Iranian foreign minister. And the Persian Gulf countries are warning that despite recent losses, Iran's missile forces can still seriously threaten U.S. bases. Persian Gulf officials say Iran's missile program is damaged but not crippled. Key elements remain intact, and other capabilities have been rebuilt. Iran still has weapons that can hit U.S. forces, shorter-range munitions, launchers, and some elements of its missile production system remain. A former Iranian diplomat claims rapid recovery, saying, quote, Tehran has doubled missile production since the 12-day war. Iran is hiding launchers in mountains. It is not possible to reach and damage these capabilities easily. Iran remains dominant in missiles. It has the largest missile program in the region, and that is actually true, 100%. It doesn't make anybody pro-Iran if they say that. That is actually true. They do have thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles that are hidden in the mountains of Iran, and Iran is a mountainous country. Their whole country is like the Rocky Mountains, okay? So they have hundreds of bunkers built into these mountains. I've showed them on my live streams in the past year. I've spent many late nights going over all these different bunkers that Iran has. And the U.S. ambassador to NATO told Fox News that the ball is in Iran's court to de-escalate and Trump's patience is running out. And the Israeli Defense Forces said a home front command exercise will take place overnight in the Haifa area. So home front command, if you guys are not aware, in Israel, that's sort of like their National Guard. It's sort of like their FEMA. So they're doing an exercise, a readiness exercise overnight in Haifa. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that U.S. officials informed regional intermediaries that Trump has not made a final decision regarding launching an attack on Iran. The Wall Street Journal, citing U.S. officials, also said Trump requested options for a fast and decisive strike on Iran that does not expose the region to a prolonged risk. And the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel tomorrow. And Steve Witkoff will also be meeting with the IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir tomorrow as well, according to the Times of Israel. So that's a big deal for Witkoff to be meeting Zamir and Netanyahu. And the Israeli Prime Minister told the Knesset, that's the Israeli parliament, that Israel is on heightened alert, closely tracking developments and prepared for all scenarios, warning that any attack on Israel would bring unbearable consequences. And top U.S. and Israeli military leaders met on Friday at the Pentagon to discuss rising tensions with Iran, two U.S. officials told Reuters. The previously unreported talks included U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane and Israel's Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir. Okay, so that is huge news. Israel's top general met with the U.S. top general, okay? And Jordan's foreign minister, Ayman Safadi, told the Iranian foreign minister in a phone call earlier today that Jordan will not be a battleground for any party in any regional conflict, nor a launching pad for any military action against Iran. So Jordan does not want to be a part of the U.S. or Israeli strike on Iran. And Lindsey Graham said yesterday, I have every confidence that President Trump will do what he promised. If this regime falls, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, they all go. It would be the biggest change since the fall of the Berlin Wall. Wow. And the Persian Gulf states are strengthening their air defenses, with Saudi Arabia acquiring 7 THAAD batteries, several of which are already in place, according to the Wall Street Journal. So THAAD stands for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. It's a long-range air defense system developed by the United States to intercept ballistic missiles, medium to long-range ballistic missiles. It shoots them down in the terminal phase. So they already have 7 of them, and most of them are already in place. And Italy announced the closure of their embassy in Iran, in Tehran, the capital. And Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar are working to organize a meeting between White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and senior officials from Iran. And Israeli Channel 12 and Channel 15 have both reported a meeting on Friday will take place between Witkoff and the Iranian foreign minister in Istanbul, in Turkey. And Iran's foreign ministry spokesman denies the reports that the U.S. and Iran have talks scheduled in Turkey in the coming days, asserting no negotiations are currently planned. And the original news outlets that reported this, the Iranian Fars and Tasnim News, both simultaneously deleted their reports about an hour after they were released. So we were hearing reports late last night, early this morning, that, oh, there's going to be talks, there's going to be nuclear talks, everything's going to be fine. Well, that's a bunch of BS, and Iran is even saying that that's BS, okay? And the Serbian president, Alexander Vučić, said yesterday that the U.S. would strike Iran within 48 hours. And an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer of the U.S. Navy, the USS Delbert Black, conducted a routine maritime exercise with the Israeli Navy ship INS Eilat in the Red Sea. I don't think that's routine by any means, but that's what they're saying, that this was routine. Clearly training to intercept Iranian missiles, okay? Because the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer is part of the Aegis program, which are missile interceptors, okay? And the former Trump CIA director, Mike Pompeo, said there's no chance for a deal with Iran. He said, I've dealt with this regime. They may agree to something, but they've broken every deal they've ever signed up for, including the deal we got into under Obama for the nuclear deal. They were violating it the very day it was signed. I wanted to just show you guys some interesting flights here. So what you're looking at is the flight path of a U.S. high-priority reconnaissance plane that flew to Okinawa, and many people believe that this is going to be deployed to the Middle East soon. But this is a plane that sends intelligence directly to the U.S. president and the top generals of the U.S., and it just got moved to Okinawa, and it could potentially be going to the Middle East. There's only 2 of these planes in the entire Air Force. And then last night we had more U.S. military cargo planes and aerial refuelers fly over the Atlantic to the Middle East. Here you can see a C-17 and 2 KC-135 aerial refuelers. And then we had this Iranian IRGC reconnaissance drone flying close to the U.S. aircraft carrier. This is very interesting. So they're trying to gather intelligence on the U.S. aircraft carrier off the coast of Oman and Iran. That's the IRGC, guys. That is very, very concerning. And then here we have a U.S. Navy drone that was patrolling the Strait of Hormuz around the same time last night, keeping an eye on that area. And then I want to read to you what the leader of Iran has been tweeting the last 2 days or so, some very strong words here. basically blaming the U.S. and Israel for the recent uprising in Iran. So he said the goal of the recent sedition was to disrupt the country's security. When security is gone, nothing is left. When there's no security, there's no production, no schools, no research, no scientific knowledge, and no progress. Another feature of this sedition was that those ringleaders trained by the U.S. and the Israelis were given the task of engineered killings. They even attacked the foot soldiers whom they themselves had drawn into the field with their propaganda, striking them from behind. This sedition resembled a coup attempt which was suppressed. But why call it a coup attempt? Because the goal was to destroy the centers effective in the country's governance. They attacked the police, IRGC bases, government institutions, and banks. So basically blaming the U.S. and Israel. He also said, when we say the sedition was orchestrated by the U.S., it isn't merely a claim. What makes it clear that this movement was by the U.S. are the remarks of the U.S. president himself. He explicitly addressed these rioters and told them, keep going, I'm coming to help. The recent sedition was orchestrated by the Israelis and the U.S. I was informed through a certain channel that the CIA and Mossad deployed all of their resources into the field. Nevertheless, they were defeated. The sedition's plan was developed abroad, and it was managed abroad. Wow. And he said yesterday, Iran stands firm and will continue to stand firm, and God willing will put an end to the United States' mischief and harassment. For more than 30 years, the Americans were present in Iran. Iran's resources, oil, politics, and security were in their hands. Everything was in their hands. Now that their grip has been broken, they're trying to find a way back. The Iranian nation stands firm, preventing it. Iran possesses numerous attractions. Its oil, gas, rich minerals, and geographic location are attractive. The U.S. wants to seize control of this country just as they controlled it before. What is the issue between the U.S. and Iran? The issue can be summed up in two words. The U.S. wants to devour Iran. The Iranian nation and the Islamic Republic prevent this. Wow. So some very, very strong words there from Khamenei. He also said, we are not the initiators of war. We do not seek to oppress anyone. We do not seek to attack any country. However, anyone who seeks to attack or cause harm will face a decisive blow from the Iranian nation. That Americans sometimes talk about war, saying we will come with warships and aircraft, is nothing new. The Iranian nation is not affected by such talk. They shouldn't try to intimidate the Iranian nation with such things. The Americans should know if they start a war, this time it will be a regional war. Wow, very strong words there from the Ayatollah Khamenei. Absolutely insane. And we have some very interesting news coming out of Africa. The U.S. and Kenya have begun a $70 million State Department-funded expansion of Manda Bay Air Base, which will now include a 10,000-foot runway extension. Okay, 10,000 feet is 2 miles, basically. Why would you need a 10,000-foot runway or 2-mile-long runway? Well, the only thing I can think of is to land bombers and heavily loaded aircraft, but specifically bombers, B-2s, B-1s, and the new B-21s, when they're fully loaded with weapons, need a 2-mile-long runway to land because they're extremely heavy. They can weigh as much as 500,000 pounds when they're fully loaded and fully fueled up. So that's what I personally think. I think the U.S. is trying to basically build a bomber base in Africa, which will give them more options as far as conducting strikes on the Middle East, and also in the event of a nuclear war, they could land their bombers in Africa. They don't have to fly them back to the U.S. or to Europe. And Russia is completing its preparations for the next large-scale combined missile and drone attack on Ukraine, which will likely take place in the coming days. We're hearing that several Russian bombers have been redeployed to bomber bases that are used to attack Ukraine. And Ukraine's defense minister said that Ukraine is working with SpaceX to develop a system that ensures only authorized Starlink terminals operate within the country. And I wanted to just show you this interesting reconnaissance flight in Poland and Lithuania. We had a British recon plane earlier this afternoon flying through the Suwalki Gap and around Kaliningrad. And Israel bombed buildings in southern Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces issued evacuation notices for the buildings before the strikes, which they said were Hezbollah military infrastructure, and they said that they did take out some Hezbollah commanders. And President Trump plans to launch a strategic minerals stockpile backed by $12 billion to reduce U.S. dependence on Chinese rare earth minerals and shield manufacturers from supply disruptions, according to Bloomberg. The initiative, called Project Vault, combines $1.67 billion in private funding with a $10 billion loan from the U.S. Export-Import Bank to buy and store minerals for automakers, tech companies, and other industries. Wow, very interesting. And a highly classified misconduct complaint was filed last May against Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard with the intelligence community's Inspector General, prompting months of internal debate over how or whether it could be shared with Congress due to potential national security risks, according to the Wall Street Journal. So not looking good for Tulsi Gabbard. And for the first time in more than 50 years, NASA is set to launch astronauts to the moon. NASA, as part of the upcoming Artemis 2 mission, plans to send 4 astronauts on a flight around the far side of the moon. The crew could fly deeper into space than any humans ever before, about 250,000 miles from Earth. Wow. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with some more breaking news. I potentially may be going live. But in the meantime, follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at NYPrepper1. You can use the description down below in this video to find my Twitter and all my other links. And also, I recommend you guys download my app from the Google Play Store. It's 100% free. It lets me send out alerts directly to your phone, and it also lets me tell you when I'm going live directly to your phone, so you're not reliant on YouTube to notify you. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.